Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie Jurassic World Dominion. Jurassic World Dominion is the third installment in Colin Trevorrow's Jurassic World franchise. Colin Trevorrow also directed The Rise of Skywalker, an incredible film. My family has always enjoyed watching the Jurassic Park movies, so we decided to go check this one out. The synopsis is as follows. The future of mankind hangs in the balance as humans and dinosaurs coexist following the destruction of Isla Nublar. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1 is the plot. If the synopsis of this film sounded kind of vague to you, it's because the plot is kind of all over the place. In fact, I'd say it took this movie about 45 minutes to actually start being a movie. I started getting whiplash from all the different places this movie was bouncing us around in the first 45 minutes, and it was super choppy and sloppily put together. And even in the midst of that, you think the plot of this movie is going to be about Owen and Claire going after the people who kidnapped Maisie and Blue, the raptor's daughter. And at first it is about that, but then there's a separate subplot going on about Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler trying to find the source of these mega locusts and connect it to this giant corporation that they think is trying to push the extinction of mankind. And it all just ends up coming out pretty convoluted. These 2 plot points are pretty sloppily intertwined, and they end up stealing the spotlight from each other periodically throughout the film. There are very convenient and coincidental things that happen to make them come together, and there were multiple times throughout where it felt like this film forgot about one plot point or the other in order to focus on the other one. So instead of working together, they were tearing me apart, Lisa. So I feel like this movie didn't really ask itself before its production about what its purpose was, because it was clearly a struggle throughout the entire film. And unfortunately, I think this film focused way too much on trying to push subliminal messaging than it did on focusing on a good story. So plot gets a thumbs down. 2 is family friendliness. As per the usual with Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of jump scares, a lot of people die via dinosaur. There's some profanity and there's some minimal sensuality. I'd even say that this movie itself is probably less bloody and gory than any of the other films were. So I have to give family friendliness a thumbs up. 3 is acting and script. Oh boy. I think one of the issues this movie had with plot was trying so hard to give a ton of fan service. Obviously, it's a lot of fun to see Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum reprise their roles in this franchise, but to me, it only holds real value if it makes sense with the story. And because the story was lacking depth and direction, them reprising their roles didn't make as much of an impact on me as I was hoping it would. I really like Chris Pratt in this role, and he did an excellent job as Owen. And the added character of Kayla Watts, for the most part, I enjoyed her character and the dialogue she had with other characters. She just seemed really unique, and that was fun to see. Jeff Goldblum just steals the show, in my opinion. He's just such a classy dude, and I love almost everything that he acts in. But other than that, the acting in this movie was just subpar. And I use that to segue into the script. The script of this movie was so sloppy. It seemed like there were moments where one character was talking, forgot their line, another character started talking, and then that first character started finishing their line. And there were a lot of empty lines of dialogue and moments that just left you wondering, okay, what was the purpose behind that line? This movie is 2.5 hours long. So for it to include 45 minutes of really sloppily put together stuff at the beginning, and then have empty lines of dialogue and senseless things throughout just really pad the runtime, and I think it was to the detriment of this movie. I have to give acting and script a thumbs down. 4 is character development. The most character development in this movie happened with Maisie Lockwood. She has been itching to discover more about herself and where she came from since she found out what she was in the previous film, and so we see some character building moments with her, but nothing incredible. I also thought that there would be more development between her and Owen and Claire, but that arc was wrapped up pretty clumsily near the end too. But what I really wanted to talk about here is the antagonist. Dr. Lewis Dodson. Not only was his acting performance pretty bad, but this was one of the worst antagonists that I've ever seen on screen. He was not a developed character. Nothing he did made congruent sense with one decision to the next. His goals would actually cause the destruction of himself. So there's no logic behind what he's trying to do. And I think they just kind of try to brush that under the rug and just say, say, here's a bad guy and we're doing something with him, don't ask questions. But it's done so poorly that it sticks out like a sore thumb, and his story arc was just really bad. Oh, and they threw in some random antagonist named Santos. What even was her character? Wasn't even involved in the movie that much, made no sense, they didn't give enough attention to it. Character development gets a thumbs down. 5 is visuals and CGI. I gotta say, this movie had some great visuals. If you just push the idea of there not really being a solid plot out of your mind and all the subliminal messaging and garbage, and just try to enjoy the entertainment of the movie, there's some awesome stuff in here. You see great dinosaur visuals, great action sequences. The CGI in this film was not distracting. You were able to look at it and see it for what it was and enjoy it. And that's what these movies are supposed to be about. So visuals and CGI get a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. I'd have to say that as a franchise overall, these films have slowly been declining in their rewatchability. And we arrive at Jurassic World Dominion, and I find myself not wanting to rewatch it at all. Yeah, there's entertaining moments, there's intense moments, but there's a really weak story that is an excuse for a plot. I don't really see a value to watching this film again. I honestly would say it's probably just better to stick to the classics. Rewatchability gets a thumbs down. With all these areas considered, I have to give Jurassic World Dominion a 6 out of 10. It had some great visuals, some intense moments, but the acting was subpar, the plot was horrendous, the fan service cameos were fun, but pretty shallow. The antagonist made no sense, and it was pretty obvious to see the subliminal messaging that was bleeding through a very weakly put together film. It just makes me wonder if the days of really enjoying a film just for entertainment and being able to use it as an escape are over. Are we constantly going to be having all of this political and social messaging garbage shoved down our throat every time we go into a movie theater? I certainly hope not. And movies like Top Gun Maverick prove that there is still good movie making out there. So if you like the Jurassic Park movies, you may want to go see this film, but overall, I would not recommend going to see Jurassic World Dominion in theaters. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Jurassic World Dominion, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.